Hey everybody, this week on the DenziBlitz, it's part 3 of our look at Space Sheriff Shaider. Folks, it is part 3 of our look at Uchuu Keiji Shaider right here on the DenziBlitz on Geek, Carolina. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week. I'm your host, Mike, and this week we are looking at episodes 12 through 16. 5 episodes of Space Sheriff Shaider here this week. Let you guys know it's going to be Perfect Score Genta's True Identity, The Gold Medal Trick People, The Mutants Love, Marine Blue of the Seashore, and The Surprised Alien Life Form. Those are the 5 episodes we're talking about today. Before we get too much into this, folks, of course, if you wind up liking the video, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it the thumbs down. That's fine. We love feedback. Just let us know why. Do that in the comments below. Something special you think we should cover or we should talk about in future installments of DenziBlitz? Well, do that either by going to our Facebook page, facebook.com/DenziCaster. The link is in the notes below. Or by just sending us a message right here on Geek Carolina on our YouTube channel. You can get a hold of us either way, and we love getting feedback. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. That helps us out an awful lot. So let's get into these 5 episodes. Synopsis-wise, hit up the internet for your synopses. You can go find details on Space Sheriff Shaider at metalheroes.wikia.com, among other places. Not hard to find. We're going to just talk impressions and thoughts here on these 5 episodes. First things first, I'm going to go ahead and get my negativity out of the way quick here, folks. My negativity out of this 5 episode batch, because I'm going to be honest, I'm still very lukewarm on Shaider. There are things I like, and what I like is enough to keep me watching. But there are some things I don't like here. Now, of course, here on the DenziBlitz, I'm going to ride it through to the end. I bought the ticket, so I'm taking the ride, as my buddy Josh would say. But the only negatives here is, first, from an effects standpoint. It feels, in a lot of cases, 1 step forward, 2 steps back when it comes to the effects on this show. Every time they start improving, not just improving upon what Gavin did, and improving, I would assume, on what Sharavan, which is the second show in the Space Sheriff trilogy, did. Sometimes it's right there, and it's just as good, and sometimes it's little tweaks that make it a little bit better. And then they go and pull out some effects that are just not good. They look like something that you would have seen pre-Gavin. As I've said last episode, almost at times like it's a different production team. So I'm not a huge fan of the inconsistent visual effects in the show. I think that's probably the best way to phrase it. I'm also not pleased with the fact that there is no overarching plot here so far. And normally for an older tokusatsu, that doesn't bother me. But because Gavin set such a wonderful stage, and Gavin kind of set the pace and set the bar, here there still really isn't one. The closest thing we get to any kind of ongoing plot in this is with Annie, our sidekick, with Annie's, and I shouldn't even call her sidekick anymore. At this point, she's the secondary hero of the story. Her home planet, Planet Mount, was destroyed, and periodically they bring up reference to it as other aliens from other worlds that have also been destroyed by the Fuma, our bad guys, pop up from time to time, like they do in Marine Blue of the Seashore, episode 15. So those are really my only 2 major dislikes, and and kind of goes in with the meta plot idea. I'm not really huge on the fact that we don't have a lot of backstory, or really almost any backstory on Shaider thus far in this show. Now, it's entirely possible there was backstory for him towards the end of Sharavan, because Gavin did that too. Gavin pretty much introduced Sharavan at the end of the series, even showing the costume and having him appear and transform into Sharavan in the finale episodes. to set up the next season. And so I'm 95% certain that happened in Charavan, but we're not getting any kind of backstory or anything like that beyond the fact that Shaider's a human and he wants to protect Earth, and that's one of the reasons he was assigned here. Annie is right now the most interesting protagonist on the show. Costuming. Now we're going to get kind of into things that are the six one way and half a dozen the other. The kind of seesaw here. The alien costumes are Fuma monsters, what have you. They are really a case of hit and miss. Not where the special effects, where it is at points flat jarring. How inconsistent the special effects are. With monster costumes, it's a bit of a different story to me, because with the monster costumes, it's either going to be really, really good or really, really bad, but and some fall in the middle somewhere. But those are all one-off effects, if that makes sense. Each monster is there for their story, their monster of the week, 15-minute in the spotlight, and then they move on. So it doesn't bother me as bad if the monster costumes are a little inconsistent. And here, out of this batch of 5 episodes, I think there were 3 of the costumes that I thought were actually pretty good. I didn't hate the monster in episode 16, the surprised alien life form. Part of the plot is that a monster has been created specifically to defeat Shaider. And it's not bad. I thought the suit actor made an interesting choice in part of his performance, because the monster seems to waddle, even though it's somewhere between a dragon and a Godzilla and a Cthulhu. It's a very interesting design. Then, for the most part, there were a couple other episodes that they're not ringing as much in my head. The gold medal monster actually looked really cool too, because it was sports themed, but it was themed around the Olympic Games. There's plenty of sports themed bad guys in Tokusatsu history, but I've never really seen one that was themed to the Olympics. Usually, like, it might be a baseball monster, or I have seen track and field monsters before, or a basketball monster, or something like that, rather than one thing. And this one was more like the rhythmic gymnastics part of it. So there's that. Like I said, the monsters really kind of hit and miss with me. The music also continues to be pretty much hit and miss with me. I liked Gavin's music a lot. Some of those themes continue here, particularly like the Laser Blade theme is the same Laser Blade theme. I think they do a little tweaking at the end of it, where it sounds not unlike the music from Macross in certain ways. But some of the music, some of the insert songs are just kind of rough. The acting, so far so good. I really don't have any complaints acting wise. I think like Subaraya as Shaider does a really good job. They don't necessarily give him a lot to do, but what they give him to do, he does well. Annie steals the show every time out of the gate. I love Annie in this show. I really do. As I said, I think last week, this is turning into a case of, it might say Shaider, but it feels like it's her show. They just named it after the guy with the fanciest suit. Particulars on the individual episodes that I liked, because there are a good many. I really enjoyed part of the plot and part of the setup for Perfect Score Genta's true identity. The basic gist of the episode with a kid who is a failing student, and our villains, the Fuma, have created a way to make robotic duplicates of the kids, and they're selling them like door-to-door salesmen to the parents. Hey, you want a better kid? Just, we'll imprint your kid's appearance and everything on this mannequin, and then suddenly they'll be better. With a Western audience, I think that episode would be seen in a very confusing light, because the impetus for these parents to just be horrible parents and bind and gag their child so as to keep up the act and illusion that they have the perfect little son. In Japan, and it probably the same in several different Asian countries, and I imagine even some European countries. The U.S. is one where my experience this is not generally the case, but there's so much pressure on education, especially in Japan. I mean, it's an entire culture built around that in many ways. There's an entire culture built around it where there are cram schools and there's exams to get into high school and things like this, and so there's such an emphasis put on test scores and performance and metrics. And there's a lot of pressure as much on the parents as the child, since the actions of the kids are a reflection upon the parents. So I think that particular episode would confuse the crap out of a Western audience, but it was a really good story, especially with the message at the end. This is a case where the moral of the tale, I think, was aimed at the parents and not the kids, which is another thing I think is really, really cool, because someone's got to be watching the show with the kid in a lot of cases. And a lot of times the parents would be watching the show too. It's 1984. There's not a TV in every room yet, or every pocket if you count your cell phones these days. But the idea of just being an encouraging and nurturing parent and encourage your child to do their best, rather than putting pressure on them, be encouraging about it. I like the moral and the message of that story. Gold medal trick people, Tokusatsu can occasionally pull off being topical, and this is a case where they did, and I've never seen this happen before or since. The monster is Olympic themed. 1984 is an Olympic year. So the whole crux of the episode revolves around someone who is an alternate on a rhythmic gymnastics team trying to break onto the main team. And this being the case with several different individuals in different Olympic sports, where the Fuma are using Olympic fever, basically, and the drive to bring home a gold medal for your country as a way to brainwash a bunch of Olympic level athletes. Interesting plot. I do kind of like it. Mutants Love is okay. It's a love story with a human that gets that becomes mutated or is a mutant. He can dissolve himself into atoms and then reassemble himself at will. That's his mutant power, and the Fuma are trying to take advantage of a long lost love in order to capture him and be able to harness that fusion and fission energy that is dispersed every time he changes form. Not bad, but not great. The Marine Blue of the Seashore, we have 3 alien girls. This is, in many ways, sort of an Annie episode. 3 alien girls show up. They are essentially the last survivors of their world, which is Planet Marine. And they are being hunted down for this golden turtle they have with them. And again, it's not a fantastic episode, not a bad episode. It's a good one. And the surprised alien life form really just revolves around the monster designed to kill Shaider, which is interesting, seeing as how a blow to the back of the head turns him into this small, cutesy little critter. Who is completely innocent and likes to drink wine, and gets sloshed at one point, which leads to some interesting and funny scenes. That was a fun episode. I really did like it, just for the fun of these child actors interacting with the baby monster who likes to get drunk. Hey, what can you say? Are any of these episodes essentials? Probably not, if we're honest. I would put, just for the quality of the story, I would put Perfect Score Genta's True Identity. I would probably put the Gold Medal Tricked People, so that's episodes 12 and 13. I would probably put those on an essentials list. I will say episode 15 also struck me for one other reason, and it feels almost as if they got a better budget for episode 15, because starting with episode 15, number one, some of the costumes changed, specifically Annie's, who's up to this point is sort of a very puffy Western-style button-up shirt, this leather, natural tan leather vest, and similarly colored skirt. Now she has a much different white undershirt, which still looks to be a bit of a button-up shirt, but it comes up to a full collar, like a turtleneck-style collar almost. She has the same style vest and skirt, but they've gone from being a natural tan to being very yellow, and I don't know why. Because her outfit I thought was fine as it was. That seemed like a case of changing for changing's sake. But when they show Shaider's posing after he transforms now, they have added a lot of post special effects to have it look like buttons are lighting up in sequence, like a startup sequence, and there's makes the costume look more reflective. Even it's already the hero suit is actually quite reflective, but more reflective and shinier. And that's a welcome addition because it kind of showcases the power of Shaider as he is powering up. Only other thing I will say here that has annoyed me a little bit, and I just thought of it, I should have included earlier, the show's got some bad inconsistencies in a couple of places that bugs me a little bit. And the one that sticks out with me right now, because it comes up in these episodes, I think actually a couple of times, when the monster goes invisible, sometimes some of the monsters, while they're in the strange realm, the Fushigi realm, have the ability to turn invisible. And some of the times when they do this, Shaider solves the problem the same way Gavin did, which is he will call for basically his laser scope, which is the visor on his helmet, well, is essentially two eyes will light up. For Shaider, it's actually two just red light up slits. But for Gavin, it was actually eyes would light up. And we would see like a HUD, a heads-up display, and we would see the bad guy appear in his field of vision, and then he would blast him somehow. In this, Shaider kind of alternates between that and using his video beam gun to do the same thing. It has a screen mounted on the back, almost like a scope. But in almost all these cases, he uses the gun to shoot whatever he sees after it cloaks itself. So it seems really odd to me that sometimes they do it one way and sometimes they do it the other. Like I said, it's just, to me, it's an inconsistency. I don't know if it's different writers handling it different ways, or different directors handling it different ways, or exactly how the decision is being made, but it's something they play really fast and loose with. And it sometimes gets a little off-putting to me when you don't establish the rules of your world quite too well. So, or at least you don't stick to them quite too well. That's a better way of putting it. So, all things considered, this batch of 5, to me, not as good as the previous batch of 5. Probably because there was less Annie, but and fewer episodes actually focusing on her. But we still have her as the equal partner. The effects seem to be improving with episode 15, so I kind of look forward to seeing what else comes. They're doing a little bit better job on some of the Fushigi Dimension stuff, Fushigi Realm footage. There's one in particular that stands out to me. I don't remember which episode it was, but they're jumping back and forth between pillars, and eventually the monster leaves Shaider stranded on the pillars, and another pillar falls from the ceiling, trying to squash him and cutting off his options of moving around, his mobility. That's something you really didn't see on Gavin. I don't remember seeing an episode where they did something quite like that. So, again, an improvement. And then they turn right around and do some compositing shots that just look horrible. So, even by the standards of the day, they were not good. So, like I said, one step forward and a step back. But all things considered, I do enjoy these episodes, and I look forward to seeing where they are going, especially seeing as how maybe episodes 1 through 14 were just a lot of setup and proof of concept. I don't know. This could be a really slow burn series. Toku from this era is typically very episodic, so it could just be that too, and I don't know. But next time around, we're going to knock out another 6 episodes of Space Sheriff Shaider, which means we're going to be checking out episode 17, The Mysterious Writings of the Space Sheriffs, and that episode title actually has me very intrigued, so I'm looking forward to that. 18 is going to be The Fallen Empire Swallowed by the Pacific Ocean. 19, Annie in Danger. 20, the Fushigi song, which has played a big role in earlier episodes, so I'm hoping they harken back to some of what we've seen before. Yada, the Beast Family, sounds kind of comedic to me. The Merman Calls the Ocean of Mysteries, that's episode 22. Maybe it'll be a bit of a tie-in to our mermaid episode earlier, our aliens from the planet Marine, Marine Blue of the Seashores, that episode. So maybe we'll start to see some callbacks and a little more work here. I'm really hoping we do, because that's something that I think this show very much needs. So, with all that said, folks, I hope you've enjoyed my outlook here on these episodes. Again, you liked the video, thumbs it up. If you didn't like it, thumbs it down. Let us know why in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Help us out here. And, of course, jump over to our Cafe Press and our Facebook pages. Check those out, too. Links are in the show notes below. So just give that a quick look-see-do, if you would. So, folks, until next time, when we take a look at 6 more episodes of Uchuu Keiji Shaider, I'm your host, Mike, and I'll see you next time on the DenziBlitz.